Hi Colin, really great to finally meet up with you on Saturday and do some work on your game. The main points from the session were basically trying to feel like we were trying to keep the upper centre, and by that point I mean sort of this point here between your shoulder blades, so like your sternum, so to speak. Hang on a sec, over. So this point here, trying to feel like we were trying to keep that as still as possible and feeling like we were turning around that point. So that point there shouldn't shift either side, so we shouldn't move to the left, shouldn't move to the right, should pretty much stay where it is. I mean, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight the same area on Adam Scott, and then the one on the right here was actually from later on during the session. What I've also done is just mark this red line here next to your head, just to give you a clear indication of what it was that we were talking about. We made one or two changes to your setup, the two main ones really being, if you look at your head here, we talked a little bit about how if your neck tilts are too far upright, so your chin's too far up, it made it very difficult to be able to turn your shoulders in a circle, because you'd be constantly having to try and change your neck angle. So you'd have to be rotating your head a lot more during your backswing and during your follow through, just so you could keep your eye on the ball. And if we just take this swing back, you'll see that the upper centre moves away from the target straight away. The left shoulder's not working down enough, and you can see there that you're already struggling to see over your shoulder to actually get a good look at the ball. So if we just carry on this through here, you can see that where your head actually is you're looking sort of at the corner of your over. We're looking at the corner of your eye down towards the ball. If you look straight forward where we actually should be, it'd be over here somewhere. And as well as the fact that obviously it blocks your eyesight, we also talked about how it made it, like I say, it made it difficult for your shoulders to turn in a circle. We talked about how the right leg was staying braced for too long, so there was too much flex in that right leg, and how this didn't allow your hips to rotate properly. They are rotating, which is good, and that allows you to get a good full shoulder turn, but it's how they rotate that was the issue. We need them to be turning on a tilted axis. If I just draw a line there through your hips, you can actually see, if anything, the hips are sort of flexed forward still, so they're still in flexion, meaning that you would really struggle to get any extension into your spine, and in the long run you wouldn't be able to keep that upper centre over the ball. So you can see that it's moved away from the target. We used Adam Scott as a really good example for this. So if we just take Adam back, and stop him at the top there, so you can see that he's turned around that fixed point at the top of his backswing. The head hasn't moved away from the ball, so there's no side to side movement with the head. He's got a good full shoulder turn. The right leg straightened, the left knee, should I say, is flexed towards the camera, and then that gets him in a very good position then to start loading into his left side to try and get as much weight forward as possible and allow him to get his low point ahead of the ball. So we want to be hitting ball first, ground afterwards. So we worked on this quite a bit. We did some drills where we had the cane and the club head, the head cover, should I say, sorry, next to your head. So if we just start this back, you can see this wasn't your best one. Also, so just before I start this back, you can see, obviously I can see a lot less of your face kind of thing. You know, we joked, obviously, you know, saying I don't want to be seeing your face at that camera angle, but it actually has quite a big effect. We also had you feeling like you were turning your toes out a little bit as well, just to make it easier for your hips to rotate. And you can see there the upper body's still wanting to wane over to the right hand side slightly. But if we just stop you there at the top of your backswing, you can see there's not as much head movement, so there's not as much move away from the target. You've moved around that fixed point much better. You can see that the circles in the two swings are in quite different places. So the one earlier on, it was sort of in the middle of your back, whereas this one here, you can see it's much more central to your body, which obviously means that you haven't moved off the ball as much. You can see the left leg starting to flex more towards the camera, and the right leg has lost a lot of its flex. We did have a quick chat about it, and we mentioned how that the amount of leg straightening was a touch excessive, so it was going a little bit too quick. However, I'd rather it was too much of that than not enough of it. So we'll just take away some of these lines there. Okay, and we'll do the same here. And basically getting you into these positions here where obviously you don't move away from the ball as much. If we just start this down and get you into impact, you can see there straight away there was just a lot of rotation with the body. Take you back to the top. There's no move forward with that left leg. You see how the left knee never really gets past the ankle, never really gets past the foot, so you're never really getting ahead of the target, and as a result we had a lot of scoop shots, so you know they were quite clean, there was no real downward hit into it. I think the average carry for a 7-iron was around 105, 107, or something around that mark. Now if we get to the one a little bit further on, you can see the weight stays ahead of it a lot longer. Yes, there's still not as much of a drive forward as we'd like to see, but if I just stop it there, you can see that the left leg has moved ahead of the foot, so more out towards the outside of the left foot. And this one here, you can see the left knee sort of over the middle of the left foot, so we know that the hips haven't moved forward as much, the weight hasn't moved forward as much, and you can see there that you're much more on top of the ball, starting to get ahead of it. And I think by the end, I don't have the numbers to hand, but the carry was up past 130, so you know there was a good 20 yards at least, that's just the carry. The ball flight was a lot higher. We were struggling a little bit with the right shot, but we talked about how the left wrist was a little bit cupped at the top of the backswing, opening up the face a little bit. Whereas before that wasn't so much of an issue, obviously because you were that much behind it. And we talked about obviously as the club comes through, obviously it rotates closed, and it would rotate too much, so it would be closed. So having a cupped right wrist would actually help to keep it a little more accurate. But obviously you were losing a lot of power, a lot of distance. So a little bit later on we talked about getting some palmar flex into that left wrist, so as you got to the top of your backswing feeling like your wrist was flexing sort of in towards the underside of your forearm, so towards the palm, so to speak, helping keep the club face just a little bit more closed all the way through. Gave us a little bit of a better straighter ball flight. So you can just see as we swing through, I mean, you know, we're not saying this is anywhere near the finished article, but you can see the weight's definitely more into your left hand side. Obviously we'd like it a bit more into that sort of position, but you know, wouldn't we all? So just a quick recap, you wanted to be thinking chin down, so get the head face looking more down towards the floor, better for your eyesight, also help the shoulders to move in a circle more. Weight forward at setup and give you a fighting chance of it in the ground in front of the ball. That right leg straightening, although maybe not quite so much as it is doing now, so maybe just ease off that slightly. And then as you're starting down, keep the weight forward, feeling as though you're trying to get as much weight forward at impact as you can. Good luck with it. If you've got any troubles, give us a call. You've got my email address, it's daleaffleckpga@hotmail.com. Good luck with it, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye bye.